All right, why don't we get started? First thing on the agenda is the minutes from the September 25th meeting. Is there a motion to approve? Besson, second. Marachi, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so approved. Let's bounce around a little bit on the agenda here up to current business, item number 16, review and amend the Albany County procurement policy. I believe we can do 12 first. Oh. Let me take care of you guys first, then I'll get Sean quickly. Okay. Ms. Storm, welcome.
Nice to see you, Mr. Clan.
Jill.
It's been a while. I'm here to update our procurement policy. First of all, the review of it to meet the controller's annual review of the policy. And we also need to be in compliance since we received federal money with the uniform guidance that they have now presented. All non-federal entities and local governments have to have a policy for their federal grant money and how it's going to be spent to ensure that it meets the guidelines of the federal government.
Excellent. Any questions for Ms. Storm? All right, Mr. Higgins.
Just to clarify, our procurement policies now, when we issue RFPs and things like that, it includes all the standard labor language that we've passed over the years?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Okay. Do we find that we get less bids as a result of that, or typically?
Well, are you talking about which policy?
Well, like we require project labor agreements, for example, apprenticeship programs. I'm just curious to know if that has any sort of effect on the quality or number of bids we get.
Just to be clear, Chris, we don't always require project labor agreements. The legislature has to approve them for a specific project.
Got it.
Yeah, that's a really tough call. I mean, you know, we are very aggressive in getting our notices out to everyone, not only through our public advertisements in the newspaper, but also online through our Empire State Purchasing Group system. So we're very active in getting people out there and getting people to bid. As to whether or not some vendors are unhappy with some of those things, you know, I can't say they're not.
Sure.
But how it affects the bidding and the pricing, it's kind of hard to say.
All right, any other questions? All right, excellent. Seeing none, is there a motion to approve? Mr. Besson, the second. Mr. Signorachi, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, excellent. Thank you. All right, let's bounce back to number 12. Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I meant to get you first there. Resolution number 296A, setting the policy of Albany County regarding background checks on employees. I know you have another event tonight, so thanks for making the trip down.
Thank you for having me. Well, we have, we sent the latest draft policy around to everyone. I have heard no comments, and there aren't any comments here. As tonight, for referral to the legislature.
I'm a big fan of no news is good news.
The only thing I would add is we changed one word from what's in here, from may to must, in the italicized portion of a couple of things. That was, or shall, from may to shall, excuse me.
That's a strong word.
Yes.
Mr. Morello, do you have a question?
Just a comment. I'd like to thank Chairman Ward and also for Pat Jeffers for working with Arnie Silverme and Paul Bergdorf for getting this done. This is a great example of bipartisanship and working together, and I think it's we came up with an excellent product. So with that, I'd like to move it for a positive motion.
All right, is there a second? Second. Mr. Signorachi, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, excellent.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman. And let's bounce back again to current business. Item number 17, authorizing agreement with the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services regarding rape crisis services. Welcome, Ms.
Thank you so
Higgins.
much, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This is a combination of old and new money. We had a previous grant with New York State Department of Health regarding rape crisis services, and for this past year, a DCJS grant for rape crisis services. They've combined both of those pots of money and added an additional $50,000. So this is, I want to call it a continuation of a grant, and the request is it's due on the 25th. So I would like to be able to submit it, and then we've been identified as the provider in Albany County that can apply for the money.
All right, excellent. Any questions for Ms. Ziegler on this one?
I'll make a motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. And item number 18, authorizing the extension of a grant and an agreement with the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services regarding the Stop Violence Against Women.
Thank you. We've had this grant for a number of years. We share this grant with both the DA's office and the Sheriff's Department. This grant is specifically addressing domestic violence, stalking, dating abuse of women in Albany County. So this is a grant where we track the misdemeanors and the felony level grant work. We also look at our sexual assault response team and the Prison Rape Elimination Act at the jail. So it's actually very holistic kind of grant that we really address all the different types of violence against women in the county. So.
Great, excellent. Any questions?
Just a quick question.
Mr.
Mr.
Signature.
Ziegler, for the RLA that we just approved before didn't vote on me, will we have to do an amendment, a budget amendment for the increase, or will that be reflected in the 2018 budget?
I believe it's in the 2018 budget. I had made M&B aware of it.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. So moved on my end.
Excellent. Mr. Signature, is there a second? Mr. Besson, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And finally, number 19, authorizing the acceptance of grant funding and an agreement with the New York State Department of Health regarding the New York State Enough is Enough program.
This reflects the governor's Enough is Enough legislation, which really addresses the violence on campus. We had a 2-year contract with Department of Health, and this is a 3-year extension of that work. So we are looking to work with the 14 campuses in Albany County to certainly address any victims, as well as prevent future violence by working with the students, faculty, and staff.
I have a random question on that.
Sure.
I know this is a state program and state funding. Do you anticipate any difficulties from what appears to be a change in policy from the federal government on this type of issue?
There's a lot of talk about that with the Department of Education. With the legislation, New York, California, and Illinois are the 3 states that have the affirmative consent policies. So as it stands, our current law supersedes the federal Department of Education. So right now, I think we're fine. I'm a little concerned about the federal level, but I believe that we're going to be fine in New York State.
So it might be tougher for a new state to come in now after the fact, but New York should
Absolutely.
find-
I'm hoping that it may attract other students to New York State, seeing that we have such very firm and proactive policies.
Yeah, excellent point. Any other questions? All right, is there a motion? Mr. Besson, second, Mr. Feeney, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, excellent, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, and now back to page 1 under previous business. Item number 1, resolution number 127 for 2016. Mr. Higgins?
You can table 1 and 2 at my request.
All right, 1 and 2 tabled per the sponsor. Items number 3 and 6, Reso 411 and local law O. Mr. Drake? Don't see him here.
They informed me that they're being tabled for the request of the sponsor, as well as number, there was another one, I forgot what it was.
Numbers
Local law G.
Local law 13, I'm sorry.
13, okay. Also table per the sponsor?
Yep. Yes.
All right. Items number 4 and 7, local law Q and Reso 40809, I'll table out for the sponsor, and the same for items number 5 and 8, 409, and local law R. Which gets us up to items number 9 and 10, local law V and local law W.
That's still being, I don't think either one of them is here tonight. I have talked to them that there are some suggested changes that I will be incorporating into one of the local laws at Mr. Krause's request. I believe in agreement with Ms. Cunningham, and then they'll have another meeting and decide whether or not that meets both their.
Okay, excellent. And these discussions are timely because we are not
We're not in any.
able to get in front of the people
Right.
for a vote this year, so.
The vote would be next November.
Okay. And being a governor turnout year, we'd expect maybe more voters to come out for that, so I think that's a positive change.
Well, we're hoping for a big turnout this year.
We sure are. Items number 9 and 10, table for the sponsor. That leaves us, I believe, only item number 11, resolution number 267. Don't believe Mr. Dawson is here. So it's tabled. Mr. Jeffers, anything else?
14, 15.
14 and 15, those are on lease.
No. And these 14 and 15 are both for, in front of the body for public hearings tomorrow night. And I believe these were both forwarded by the law committee officially, so I would recommend we table both these pending the public hearing.
Right, and then we could do a post-public forum on these because, in particular, the one with number 15, we've done quickly, because we want the people to get the exemption next year who are eligible for it. But we could do them both on the post-public forum if that's acceptable to the chair.
Okay, excellent. So technically there's no sponsors, so why don't we, on the safe side, take a motion to table both those. Mr. Signachi, second. Mr. Besson, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, is there a motion to adjourn? Second, all in favor? Opposed? Thanks, everybody.